This video is going to go over your 6.3 homework 1 through 6, 12, 13, 16, 20, 21, 24, 25 through 29. But I'm not going to do all of them, but I'll do a lot of them. So let's get started. Meow. Where better to start than number 1? Number 1 asks us to solve the inequality. Solve. What does that mean? That means our answer is going to have x by itself. So we need to get x by itself. I see 4x minus 7 on the left-hand side and 1 on the right-hand side. So our first step is to get every term that doesn't have an x in it to the right. Well, we have 4x. We're going to keep that one on the left side because it does have an x in it. Minus 7 does not have an x in it. So we're going to get rid of minus 7 by adding 7. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other.
Protect your home with a security system monitored by
These 7's will cancel, leaving us with 4x on the left-hand side.
Call now and get $850 of hardware and activation.
And on the right-hand side, we have 1 plus 7, which is 8. Now we can just bring this symbol straight down. 4x is greater than or equal to 8. We just move the 7 over. Okay? So now we have 4 times x is greater than or equal to 8. This is a one-step inequality. This is what we learned in section 6.2. If 4 is being multiplied to x, in order to get x by itself, we must divide. We have to divide by that number that's being multiplied to x. Okay, so the 4's will cancel. We have x. What's 8 divided by 4? Well, that's 2. We divided by a positive number here. That means we don't have to worry about flipping the sign. It stays the same. So this is what we're going to graph. X is greater than or equal to 2. What does that look like? We'll put little arrows. Okay, so I like putting the number right in the middle. That way I have enough room on either side to pick some test points. Now what was a test point? A test point tells us which side of the dot to bold. Well, we know that the point is at 2, so I'm going to put a point. If we're going to fill the circle, that means it has to be equal to 2. Can it be equal to 2? Yes. X can be equal to 2 because x is greater than or equal to 2. So we'll fill it in. Now we have to decide which side to bold. Let's plug in some numbers. Start on the left. 0. Plug in a 0 for x. Is this true? Is 0 greater than or equal to 2? No, it's not. So we're not going to bold that side. Let's try 3. Is 3 greater than or equal to 2? Yes, it is. So that means we're going to bold this side because these are the numbers that are greater than or equal to 2. And that's how you do number 1. Now let's look at number 4. Number 4 looks a little different than the last one. We've got a minus 4 in parentheses with a 3 on the outside. When we're in this situation, we need to use the distributive property. The distributive property means that we take this coefficient or number in front of the parentheses and distribute it to each term inside the parentheses. Now what does that mean, distribute? We're going to multiply 3 times a. I'm going to separate this. Okay, 3 times a. Now what is 3 times negative 4? We multiply them together, that's a negative 12. Okay, we'll keep the sign how it is. We haven't done anything to change the inequality yet. All we did was distribute a 3. Now we keep 33 the same. So this is our new line that we're looking at. This inequality has 3a minus 12 is less than or equal to 33. Now our rule is if there's anything to add to get a by itself or subtract, we need to do that first. Well, I see that there's a positive 12 that we could add to this negative 12 to get a by itself. So I'm going to add 12. And that will simplify our left-hand side. These 12s are going to cancel. 3a is left by itself. 33 plus 12 is 45. And we're going to keep the symbol the same. Remember, we only flip the inequality symbol whenever we multiply or divide by a negative number. Now all we did was add 12, so we don't need to worry. Now we have 3a is less than or equal to 45. We want to get a by itself, and right now it's being multiplied to 3. So if you want to undo multiplication, we divide. 3 divided by 3 is just 1. A is now by itself. But whatever we did to this left-hand side, we have to do to the right-hand side. Okay? Now A, what's on the right-hand side? 45 divided by 3. That's 15. The symbol, do we flip it or does it stay the same? It stays the same. We did not divide by a negative number or multiply by a negative number. Therefore, it can stay the same. A is less than or equal to 15. Oops. So this is what we're going to graph. So we draw our number line. Whoa, not straight. So we've got, I like putting 15 in the middle. That's our point that we're going to be working around. Okay. We'll put our point on 15. Do I fill it in? Yes, we do, because it can be equal. So we fill it in. Now we put in a test point. Let's try the left side. Let's plug in 13 for A. So 13 less than or equal to 15. Is this true? Is 13 less than or equal to 15? Yes, it is. So we know that we can bold this side. And we're done. Now if we would have tried something from the right, we would have picked 16 or 17. I'll do 16. 16 less than or equal to 15. I plugged 16 in A's place. Here. 16 less than or equal to 15. Is that true? No, that is not true. So we're not going to bold that side. And that's how you solve number 4. Now let's look at number 6. Number 6 says negative 2 times the quantity C minus 1 is less than negative 22. This one looks similar to number 4 because we're going to have to use the distributive property. Do you remember what the distributive property is? Negative 2 times C and then negative 2 times negative 1. That's our distributive property. We distribute the negative 2 to each term in the parentheses. So we have negative 2 times C is negative 2C. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. We're going to keep the sign how it is. All we did was distribute. We haven't done any division or anything. Now we have negative 22. Alright, so I see negative 2C plus 2 is less than negative 22. Anything that doesn't have a C in it has to go. So this positive 2, we're going to subtract it. because it does not have a c attached to it. So these are going to cancel. This side we're left with negative 2c is less than, I'm going to keep it how it is, negative 22 minus 2 is a negative 24. So this is the inequality that we're working with now. Negative 2c is less than negative 24. How do we get c by itself? Well, right now it's being multiplied by a negative 2. In order to undo multiplication, we have to divide. Divide by a negative 2. Now that should have sent off a little bell in your head. I just said divide by a negative. If you have to divide by a negative, this sign is going to flip. Negative 2 and negative 2 is just a 1, so we're left with c. Negative 24 divided by negative 2 is a positive 12. And since we divided by a negative, this answer is going to have a sign that is flipped. That is your solution. We have solved this inequality. C is greater than 12. Let's see what that looks like on a line graph. So we have 12 here, put 11, 10. Okay, 12. Do I fill it in? No, I do not, because it cannot be equal to. C is greater than 12. So any number we plug in for C needs to be greater than 12. Let's try 10. Is 10 greater than 12? No, it's not. And that's on the left side of the circle. So we know that we're not going to shade here. Let's plug in one of these just to make sure it works. 13. Is 13 greater than 12? Yes, it is. This is the side we'll shade. So we left this open at 12 because it can't be equal to, and we know to shade the right side because if you plug in a number from there, it satisfies the inequality. And that's how you do number. Now let's look at number 12. 7p minus 11p plus 3 is greater than or equal to 3 minus 4p. Now our directions on this one were to solve the inequality if possible. Well, let's try it out. 7p minus 11p, well, we know that that's minus 4p, 7 minus 11. So we have plus 3 is greater than or equal to 3 minus 4p. Okay, well, let's combine like terms. I see a p over here and a p over here. Let's just move all the p's to the left. So I would add 4p and add 4p. Well, these p's are going to cancel, but these p's just canceled. So I have 3 is greater than or equal to 3. Is this true? Yes. But what does this mean? That means any value you plug in for p is going to work because the p's canceled anyways. And you're always going to get 3 is greater than or equal to 3. So there's many solutions.